There was that kind of core wound, that like feeling of abandonment, feeling of rejection, right? I know it's crazy to like admit it. I'm telling you, therapy works. Okay, well, I'm not all the way through. Like, I'm not all the way on the other side, but I'm getting through it. Hi, I'm Taylor-Alexis, and this is a safe place to talk dangerously about life in your 30s, wellness, and a little bit of film. So if you're new, welcome, and if not, thanks for coming on back. All right, okay, so today I want to piggyback on a video that I did last week about detaching, and I want to talk about how acceptance brings peace, right? So let's talk. Due to some outside forces, once March started, I started thinking about my birthday, which was on the 20th, and I turned 35, and I was like, oh my God, whoa. Not that I felt a way about, getting older or anything, because I tell you all the time, getting older is a blessing, and we're just getting started. But it was more so like, okay, what's next? What am I gonna do? Like, I was thinking a lot about where I've been and where I'm going. And in that, it feels like you have this big exhale, right, of acceptance of like, okay, I did all of this. I'm not sure about what's happening over here, but in this moment, I'm choosing peace and I'm accepting my reality. So I want to just talk a little bit about that. Short and sweet episode, Episode, look at me, like I'm back in the podcast world. Oh, I miss it. Acceptance is acknowledging a situation for what it is and then letting go of any judgments that you have towards it. And I know it's easier said than done, and that's something that you have to like actively practice, and we'll get to that in a second. But it's hard to do because you live your life, you go through certain things, you have your wins, you have your failures, and then your mind and your body, your soul is kind of programmed to handle stress in a certain way. And then once you dial it back a bit, when you ground yourself in whatever way works for you, you kind of realize that, I might have to change some things, right? I might have to accept that this is what the situation is, and I might not like it, which is a feeling, right? But it's not a fact. So I always say that acceptance is a means to inner peace, right? And it's something that only you can deal with. And, we can talk a little bit about approvals and stuff like that, but I just kind of wanted to get a little personal and give you an example. So this is a big one for me, but I've been working through it in therapy and then also outside of therapy because I can't find a therapist out here in LA. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough, but the story of how I got to be here, right, on Earth as a human, 35, has always been a little murky. It's always been a little up in the air, not really sure how I got here and what exactly happened, but it's something that I've grown to accept. And I'm telling you, before, and these helicopters are back, I don't care, I'm gonna go through. Before, I used to really sit and like think about it, like, damn, like I never really thought about the story of my life until I got to college. I'm telling you, when I was sitting with my roommates, they were talking about family stuff. I'm like, I have to really think about it. And it's funny because, in realizing that too, I've accepted that I'm like a busybody, and learning to rest has been a really big thing. Maybe that could be a topic, but learning to rest has been a really big thing since I've moved out here, and just kind of centering myself and like, I don't have to do everything at every single moment. I could just chill. I could just sit on my couch and relax, enjoy my rent. But I realized the story of how I got here, or not knowing the story of how I got here, was also affecting my relationships. Like, there was that kind of core wound, that like feeling of abandonment, feeling of rejection, right? I know it's crazy to like admit it. I'm telling you, therapy works. Okay, well, I'm not all the way through. Like, I'm not all the way on the other side, but I'm getting through it. It showed up in my relationships, whether that was with boyfriends, friendships, coworkers, whatever. And I didn't really like that. So that's why I wanted to kind of do the work. I knew that like somewhere around 2019, I felt like I was crashing, on my way to crash and burn. And I was like, you know what? Therapy, let's sign up. Another thing with that too, and I always got to give like a doc recommendation. So there's a doc on HBO or Max, HBO, and it's called Danielle Luna, and it's about Danielle Luna, which is the first Black model to voice the cover, to grace the cover of Harper's Bazaar and Vogue. And what I love about this doc is that they break it down into chapters of her life based on location. Like she grew up in Detroit, you know, came to New York, made a name for herself, moved to Paris, London, Rome, all of that. And unfortunately, she passed away at the age of 33, but she had journal entries that her daughter has access to and was like reading throughout the documentary. It's really nice to go see it. But I bring that up to say that I always admire women that can take themselves from one location into another and just kind of recreate it. Like forget your past, right? And maybe part of that is like kind of running from something. And I think about that when I like moved to LA. I'm not running from anything, I promise. But you know, it's something that is inspiring, right? Like you don't always have to stay stuck in that like victim mode of like, oh my God, the rejection, the abandonment, whatever. You just like, hey, this is what it is. And I know that I'm greater than this, or I'm better than this, or I deserve more. And we move forward. That's my little spiel. It's really, honestly and truly about seeing things for what they are rather than how you wish they were. Because then that creates like resentment and disappointment, anxiety, all that stuff. And you don't really want all that. You don't really want all of that. We have enough going on in the world. Okay, so you can focus on the things that you can control. I believe that when you begin accepting things, you're reducing your suffering, right? We all go through some kind of suffering. When there's so much resistance to your reality, it becomes this emotional toll. Like it's like this heavy burden, and sometimes you don't know what to do with it. You're carrying all this guilt and shame of something that probably wasn't yours to begin with, right? So that's one thing. When you choose to accept what it is, and I'm like, just keep repeating it. I'm just going to keep reiterating that. You're improving your relationships with people as well. I think with acceptance, you have to understand that you can't change people, right? Number one. And you get to enjoy them better when you're not trying to change them. And I've been guilty of this. I have. And I've like seen the error of my ways. But, you know, lesson learned. And then once you get into the habit of practicing acceptance, you'll find that you're so in the moment. You're so present, and there's nothing like the present. Yes, there are things that you can reflect on in the past if you want to be better. Yes, you can work on things that you want to do in the future, but there's nothing like the present, right? And it's so grounding. It's so calming to be in the present. Now listen, there's certain things that you shouldn't accept. Now, acceptance doesn't mean that you're tolerating things, but it means that, you know, you have to take some action. And I want to read something. I had a loved one send me a very interesting quote about acceptance one day. And I'm going to read it to you. Acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. When I'm disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it's supposed to be at the moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I accept myself, my situation, and my life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what happens in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes. And happiness is a choice. So when you choose happiness, you choose acceptance. You accept your reality. Let's meet reality where it is so we can go further. Being present in the moment without judgment. It's so easy for us to judge. Let me tell you, we live on our phones and judge every day on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. So if we could just kind of dial it back or really check in with ourselves when we're being a little judgy-wudgy, it can go a long way. A personal favorite is challenging those negative thoughts. It's so easy to be like, especially when you've gone through some things, it's so easy to be like, oh my gosh, woe is me, it's over, But challenge those negative thoughts with logic. Right? Ask yourself, is this actually fact? Now your feelings are just, but is this actually a fact? Is this something that is true? Is this something that you can prove without a doubt? You know, and move from there. With acceptance also comes forgiveness, right? Forgiving yourself for being angry or not satisfied with a situation outside of yourself, right? We have to focus on what you can control. Let go of what's outside of our influence. Like I said, easier said than done, but When you start showing up and doing the work and putting it out there or making an effort to say, you know what, it is what it is, but I'm still going to do this and change my life this way and yada shada. I say that to say take action where necessary, right? Not everything needs a reaction. Not everything needs some, 10 action step list of what to do next. But you'll know. You'll know. Discernment is honestly and truly a gift. You'll know what you'll need to do. And if you don't, pray on it. I'd like to also encourage you to do some deep breathing. Breathing techniques really help. Like sometimes you just need to relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw, close your eyes, sit on the couch, sit on the floor, whatever, ground yourself outside with nature, and just take a deep breath in and let it all out. And do that a couple times. Like do like a big inhale through your nose and let it out through your mouth. I promise you, like you'll feel your body start to melt like into wherever you're sitting or laying or whatever. And it definitely works. And it'll get easier with time, right? You'll be less uncomfortable with this process, And I like to say, la que puede, okay? Those who can. So don't make excuses. Get her done. You too can accept it, because on the other side of that acceptance is happiness. And that's what we care about. So let's wrap. I wanted to do a whole video on like feeling your feels, but I'm like, I don't know if it needs a full video for that. But feel what you feel, but just don't live there, right? You're gonna go through some trials and tribulations. The grace that you extend to others, extend it to yourself, especially when you're having a rough patch, okay? You made a mistake, you're human, you're gonna get back up and everything is gonna be okay. But all in all, recognize the truth of your reality so that you can make some responsible adjustments, okay? So I wanna just check in really quickly. I would love to know what's one thing that you've learned to accept that has brought you peace. Whatever you're comfortable with sharing, okay? It's a safe space to talk dangerously. But thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. And if this is your jam, if you want a little bit more of this kind of content, hit that subscribe button and I will see you here next week. Okay, thank you so much. I'm Taylor-Alexis and I'm out. Bye.